It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us at randykabc@gmail.com. Follow me on social media at Randy Wang Radio and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Well, with the stroke of a pen, it's the end of an era in California. The EV mandate era is over because the federal government has taken away the waiver that allowed Gavin Newsom to implement this restriction where in 2035, you could not buy a gas-powered car in the state of California. For more on the end of the EV mandate, here is a report from ABC 7 in the Bay Area.
Officially rescue the U.S. auto industry from destruction by terminating the California electric vehicle mandate once and for all.
President Trump today signed a resolution to overturn the state's ban on selling new gas-powered vehicles after the year 2035.
State leaders worried about what this will mean for the health of residents. And
oh, boy. The health of residents. You know, this is the same kind of thing that made it so back when we were first starting to plan the high-speed rail, the Obama administration said, hey, start that thing in Fresno and build it out because we want to do something for all the asthma rates in the Central Valley. How's that helped out exactly?
State leaders worried about what this will mean for the health of residents, and they are fighting back.
ABC 7 News.
And again, you can talk all you want about reducing emissions in the state of California. Forget that this is a global issue, and what you do in the state of California doesn't necessarily affect what's going on in China or India. Forget all of that. All of the emissions reductions that we have done over the last 20 years were completely wiped out thanks to a few of the awful wildfires we've had just in the last 2 years.
ABC 7 News South Bay reporter Dustin Dorsey joins us live now with yet another lawsuit filed by California towards the president. Dustin.
Bonta's been a busy, busy boy.
Yeah, that's right, Kristen and Larry. California has challenged the Trump administration over National Guard deployment, transgender athletes' rights, and immigration protections. Now, Attorney General Rob Bonta says the removal of clean air standards puts millions at risk simply for the political gain of the president. So the two sides are in court once again.
We officially rescue the U.S. auto industry from destruction by terminating the California electric vehicle mandate once and for all.
President Donald Trump is trying to hit the brakes on electric vehicle.
We had to, didn't we? You knew that the car puns were coming.
Vehicle rules in the Golden State. Thursday, in an attempt to overturn what he calls a disaster, Trump signed resolutions blocking the first-in-the-nation regulations to ban the sale of new gas-powered vehicles statewide in 2035. Minutes later, California Attorney General Rob Bonta stepped in.
We made a promise that if the president attempted to illegally interfere with our clean air standards, we'd hold him accountable.
I think it says it's our clean air standards, like we voted for it. This is something unilaterally decided by Gavin Newsom. It wasn't a bill passed by the Assembly or the state Senate. It wasn't a referendum that was on the ballot. This was Gavin's idea. And like with everything with Gavin, it's a huge headline and no follow through.
We made a promise that if the president attempted to illegally interfere with our clean air standards, we'd hold him accountable in court. Today, we are making good on that promise.
Despite Trump announcing there is nothing California can do to fight this, Bonta, Governor Gavin Newsom, and 10 other states filed a federal lawsuit. Governor Newsom says the president is trying to destroy the state's clean air during his continuing all-out assault.
The clean air by a mandate that doesn't take effect for 10 years and a mandate that isn't super practical. Oh, we'll get to that. And I'm saying that as a proud owner of an electric car.
All-out assault on California. Last month, the Republican-controlled House and Senate used the Congressional Review Act, or CRA, to revoke Clean Air Act waivers in California.
We refuse to let this unprecedented and illegal use of the CRA undermine the Clean Air Act waivers that give California the authority to enforce our own emission standards.
Standards that Bonta says reduce harmful pollution and protect public health.
How's that working out? Oh, yeah, California still has the worst pollution out of any state. And again, all of the things that we have done to reduce emissions through cap and trade and emission standards and cleaner fuel, it's all been wiped out by wildfires because this state can't manage itself.
San Jose State University environmental science professor Eugene Cordero says electric vehicles are the easiest way to improve conditions for some of the worst polluted cities in the country. He says policies that slow down that progress will lead to worsening smog.
But again, there's nothing that says you can't buy an electric car. I own one. What this was forcing people to buy electric cars when, I hate to break this to the state of California, we're nowhere near able to handle 40 million electric cars.
Higher asthma rates and millions of dollars in increased healthcare costs.
Building more public transit, high-speed rail, all those things are really challenging for us to do in a already built-up environment. So this conversion to electric vehicles is a way that we can really reduce emissions quickly. And California's already done a pretty good job in this space.
So then what do we need the mandate for?
The latest.
If it's a better product and it's affordable, people will buy it.
The latest legal battle regarding those electric vehicle mandates represents the 26th time that California has filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration in his first 6 months of office. Totals around $5 million in legal fees thus far. It's unclear what this lawsuit will turn into, but the regulations Trump is trying to evoke does not impact the ability to buy or sell electric vehicles at this time. We're live in the San Jose Bureau. Dustin Dorsey, ABC 7 News.
All that it says is that you can't do what Gavin wanted to do, which was ban the sale of gas-powered cars by 2035, making a quota where starting in 2026, a third of all cars sold have to be electric. So I guess at some point you're like, we're not allowed to sell any more gas-powered cars because we haven't met our quota. Look, I have owned an electric car for 3 years now, and I really like my car. I have a Chevy Bolt EUV. They don't even make these anymore because they started putting EV batteries inside the Blazer, and they figured that was better branding. But it's kind of like a mini SUV. It's got a range of 240 miles, and I use it exclusively for commuting to work and back. And it works great for that. I have a 240-volt charger in front of my house, and so I charge it overnight once a week, pretty much like every 5 to 6 days, because I only use it for running errands around, picking up groceries on the weekend. When my wife and I go out to lunch, we'll take this car, and I'll use it to commute back and forth to work. And my work commute is 34 miles round trip. And I've loved it for that. And again, for charging at home, which if you don't know what level 2 charging is, that means that my car charges about 13 miles an hour. So charging overnight does great. It does a great job. But I've never actually put my car to the test of what it would be like if you live in the world where every car on the road has to be electric. You also would have to live in a world where the electric cars would go on road trips, where the electric cars could travel up and down the state. And up until last weekend, I had never experienced that before. And I'd like to tell you a little story. So I got an email from one of my favorite wineries, Fiddlehead Cellars. I'm a wine club member there that said, hey, you've had a shipment since February, and you need to pick this up or we're going to ship it to you. And I didn't want them to ship it because I'm going out of town. And I didn't want the UPS guy to come and have me sign for a package when I'm not here, and that wine is sitting in some UPS warehouse. So my wife and I occasionally will do a day trip just to pick up our wine club pickups because we'd rather not do shipping, and then come right back. And we usually take my wife's car. She drives a Lexus hybrid. You can drive like 400 miles before you got to fill up that tank. But we didn't want to take her car. We wanted to, and we've talked about this for a very long time, see what it was like. Now that it's 2025, is the infrastructure there to take a simple road trip 100 miles away? I live in the San Fernando Valley. It's about 110 miles to get to Buellton. And then, of course, when you're in wine country, you're going to be driving a bit as well. So you need to go, we went to Foxen, so you got to go through Foxen Canyon Road. We went to Fiddlehead down in Lompoc. So there's quite a bit of driving before you finally make that trip back. But we kind of had this figured out. We made a plan. See, years ago, I would have never tried this because there just weren't that many chargers in Santa Barbara wine country. Then about a year ago, I saw the press headline that, hey, Tesla's opening up their network to every single electric car that's out there. And I thought, all right, time to try it out. I can plug into the Tesla network like my neighbor who drives up to wine country. And you know what? I'm glad that I did a little reading on that beforehand, because it turns out you can't just plug it in. It's a different shaped plug. So you have to buy an adapter. This is information that I found out about on the Friday before the Saturday we were going. So I looked online. Okay, how do I get me one of these adapters? Oh, Home Depot has one. You know, Home Depot's on DoorDash now. It's fantastic. So I had Home Depot send me one of these adapters, and I'm like, we're good to go. But don't you worry. We got a backup plan because I know where the other quote-unquote fast chargers are. And we can use those if for some reason there's a problem. And my wife, who, again, we've never done a road trip with this car, has massive range anxiety. Is like, why don't we pack an overnight bag just in case we have to stay at the Hampton Inn because this doesn't work out. And so I fill up my car to the full charge the morning that we're going. And it's a perfect morning to get up to Santa Barbara. No traffic whatsoever. We end up in Buellton with a little less than half of a tank in my electric car. And the first stop that we go to is the Tesla Supercharger Station. It's in front of the Buellton Marriott, and there's like 24 Tesla chargers. And because it was a Saturday morning, there was nobody there. So I pull in, I download the Tesla app, and I tell it what kind of car I have, and I put the phone up to the little thing, and I plug in my adapter, and I plug in my charger, and it says, okay, you're going to have to wait up to 2 minutes before you see it start charging. So I wait 2 minutes. And then nothing happens. I get an error. And I said, okay, that's weird. So I unplug everything, plug it back in. It says, hold on, you might have to wait 2 minutes. So I wait 2 minutes. It says, no car detected. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Maybe it's a different pump. Maybe I got to try a different pump. So I pull out of that one. I pull into the next one over. Same problem. At this point, my wife has already, gotten the dogs out, walked around the local area in front of the hotel, and is like, what's going on? I'm like, it's not working. So we decide to abandon that plan. I assume, okay, this adapter that I bought from Home Depot doesn't work. A little frustrated, we go down the road 3 miles to Solvang. And in front of a shopping center in Solvang is a few quote-unquote fast chargers from Electrify America. And it was still the morning, so it wasn't busy. So I now had to download that app, the Electrify America app. And if you've never been to Santa Barbara wine country, here's something that's fun. Internet's terrible almost everywhere. You get to certain parts of wine country like Fox and Canyon Road, there's no cell service, let alone Wi-Fi in a lot of places. So I download the app. I try to open the app. That takes forever, but I finally get it in. I finally get it to work. And I'm at the fastest charger they have. It says it goes 350 kilowatts. So I plug it into my car. And it gets a little click. It does a beep beep, says it's ready to charge. And then my car tells me how long this charge is going to take. And it tells me that it is going to take 45 minutes to go from 50% battery to 75% battery. So I look at it and I say, okay, why don't we walk the dogs around, check out the local shops. As I look at the app that's telling me how fast this charge is going on a 350 kilowatt charger, it's going 50. Because apparently my car doesn't go faster than that when it comes to charging. Even if I was at the Tesla network, that's the fastest it could charge. So we walk around with the dogs. In the meantime, I'm looking up on my Chevy app. Why isn't this Tesla thing working? Well, apparently I had to hit authorize on my app that I'm allowing this car to be used on the Tesla network. So I'm like, okay, maybe we'll try that later because we're going to have to fill up before we go back. We fill up. 30 minutes later, we get up to about 70%. Like, that's plenty for now. We go up to Foxen, which is one of the best wineries out there. And they actually have chargers there. And I pull up the car. I'm like, okay, this is a level 2 charger, but, we'll get while the hour or two that we're here, maybe 15, 20 miles. So I park my car. I am already connected to the Foxen Wi-Fi. That's great. But I hit the QR code on the charger there, and I get an error message. And I look at what app I need to download for this charger, which is another one. I think this one was called, Turning Green? And that didn't work. And so then I decided to say, screw it. And I walked in and I muttered something about the chargers didn't work. And the employees there couldn't have been nice. They're like, hey, can we try to help you out with that? So they're like, no, it's a different app than the one that it says it is. It's a new app. We just changed it. So scan this QR code. I'm like, okay, it's working. And then I plug it in and it doesn't work. At that point, I give up. And we had a great time drinking the wine. Then we go down to Lompoc, pick up our wine at Fiddlehead, head back to Buellton, and we definitely need to fill up before we get back on the 101. And so first I'm like, okay, I've authorized the Tesla thing. Maybe this will work now. So we go back into that Buellton Marriott, and I pull into the Tesla supercharger area, and I plug in my car, and I plug in the adapter, and I turn on the Tesla app, and wait 2 minutes. Still doesn't work. So we say, screw that. Let's go to Electrify America in Solvang. At this point, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's getting very hot. And all of the pumps, if you can call them those, at Electrify America, they have like 4 different charging stations. They're all full. And in fact, there are people waiting in the parking lot. There's a Rivian in the parking lot waiting to see people who's pulling out first. And I found a spot, but even though there's a pump that has 2 different sides to it, you can only use one at a time. So I had no charger. And at this point, it was like, okay, do we just sit here and wait for one of these to open up? I look on one of the apps that I have that searches for chargers all around. I'm like, okay, there's an EV Go charger at a different grocery store in Santa Ynez, 2 more miles down the road. So we drive down there. We find this charger. I have no internet. I have no Wi-Fi. I have no cell service, but I'm able to activate it, although it's not working on the app, but I can see on the machine that it's working. And it says, okay, it's going to be about 45 minutes to get to 70%. Except now it's hotter. It is an area where it's just a grocery store. We have the dogs with us, so it's not like we can go inside the grocery store. So we just have to sit in the hot car and wait for the thing to charge up to the point where we're confident we have enough juice to get home. Needless to say, I will never be taking a road trip in this car again. And here's what I want to know from you. At 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Gavin Newsom was the one that put forth this electric car mandate. They wanted every single car in the state to be electric. But what was actually the plan here when the infrastructure to have nothing but electric cars doesn't exist? There's a whole bunch of chargers, and they're super slipshod if they actually work. They all are different companies. They all are different speeds. They're super inconsistent. What was the plan to get everyone on electric cars if there is no infrastructure to charge them outside of if you have a house and you can charge it at home? What was the plan here? Was there ever a plan here? Or is this just yet another Gavin Newsom flashy headline with no follow through? What was the point of the EV mandate if charging your car is a massive pain in the ass? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're an electric car owner and you had some range anxiety hell like this, tell me about it. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your thoughts on Gavin's EV mandate going away, the fact that we have no infrastructure for charging in the state of California, especially in places with no internet. And if you've had to deal with this, tell me your story. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Gavin Newsom's EV mandate has been killed by the federal government. And Gavin Newsom wanted every car in the state to be electric by 2035. What I don't understand is if that was the plan, why is the charging infrastructure in this state such a awful mess? There's 10 different apps. So many of these things don't work, or they're not nearly as fast as they're supposed to be. And now there's so many electric cars out there that a lot of these charging stations are overwhelmed unless you have a Tesla, and then the Tesla adapter doesn't work. But if you've had an electric car and you've had some range anxiety nightmares like I had up in Santa Barbara wine country, give me a call, 800-222-KABC. What do you think about Gavin Newsom's EV mandate getting killed? Was it not realistic to begin with? 800-222-KABC. If you're on hold, we'll get to you next. Stay on hold. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're talking electric cars. The mandate has been killed by the federal government, but there's still a lot of people with electric cars, and the infrastructure in the state of California for charging on the road is an absolute joke. I've had an electric car for 3 years. This is the first time I have ever taken my car on a road trip just 2 hours north to Santa Barbara wine country, and I had to download so many different apps, and so many of them didn't work, and there's no reception or Wi-Fi out there to begin with. But I found it to be a complete nightmare, and at least the way things are right now, I will never use my car for a road trip. So it's a commuter car only. But I want to hear your phone calls, 800-222-KABC, on Gavin's EV mandate getting killed. If you've had range anxiety hell like I had last weekend, give me a call, 800-222-KABC. We're going to do things a little differently here. Our screener's not able to connect to the radio station. So if you're on hold, I'm going to go to you, and Wayman's just going to have his finger over the dump button in case things get crazy. But let's start with Roxanne in Huntington Beach. Roxanne, hello.
Hi there. I'm in Huntington Beach, and I've been here for a number of years, and I got a Nissan Leaf about 6 or 7 years ago. It was like the cutest car, and it was no gas. I mean, I loved it for the longest time. Nobody was on any of the stations. I just used it around the city, and then it's like a battery in your cell phone. Eventually, it won't hold the charge. It gets less and less and less. It started out at like over 100 miles an hour. 100 miles to capacity. And then after 4 or 5 years, full charge would give me 40 miles, But I just used it to go shopping and stuff, and I love the car. Then one day, I decided to take it out of range, and I tried to get on a charger at a mall, and they almost beat me up. Because I called the place at Electrify America, and I said, I can't find a charger. And they said, ma'am, it's just right around the back of the mall. And I said, okay. And I said, is there a reservation? Do you have to have a reservation, or can you get on a charger? Because it was crowded. And they said, no, it's first come, first served. So I pull in, and 4 people get out of their car that had been parked nearby, and they said, ma'am, you can't get on that charger. We've been waiting for an hour to get on that charger. So the next weekend, I went down to the Nissan dealership and just traded it. And I got a little 4-cylinder SUV, which I absolutely love. It gets 35 miles to the gallon on the highway. And I just got out of the electric situation because I couldn't deal with that. I was like, this is not working. So, yeah.
If you have like one gas car and one electric car, you can make it work, but it is so impractical with the lack of charging that's out there. The fact that, like what you said, there are people now getting into fights over these things because there's 2 functioning chargers in a parking lot, and it's not like a gas station where 3 minutes and you go. Sometimes people are waiting 30, 40 minutes up to an hour, and it's just, what was the plan here?
Well, I know it's falling apart, and I basically, I felt like I was going backwards, Randy, because, you go from electric to gas, you're moving backwards in progress, right? But actually, in all honesty, if you go somewhere and you run out of charge and you can't get your car, charged, and you're just there, it's $300 to tow your car. And It's not an easy tow. They have to have a flatbed because they told me I had the Nissan Leaf. I had a 2014 one. And I said, ma'am, you're going to have a flatbed tow guy because they can't tow it from the front because of the way the battery's in the car and everything. So it's not a simple thing that you can, fix. So there's more problems that have not been addressed with the electric car.
There are so many things that haven't been addressed, and Gavin Newsom's mandate didn't do anything for it. Roxanne, thank you so much for sharing your story. Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. What was the plan to force everyone into an electric car in California when there is no infrastructure? There are chargers throughout. A lot of them don't work. There's so many different apps, and they all require you to have an internet connection to get them to work. It's not like a gas station where you just put in your credit card. So if you're in a place that has no internet, you can't even get these things to work. What was the plan here? 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Sunil in Shadow Hills. Sunil, hello.
Hello, Randy. How are you doing?
Doing great.
So there was no plan. I think this was an emotional decision made by the governor, if it was the governor alone or it was other people that he was involved with. There's a bunch of things that are wrong here. One of the things is that if you are a sports car lover and you enjoy your ride or whatever, or you like to drive the G-Wagon or something like that, you're not going to enjoy all that with an electric car. I mean, you want to hear the sound of the engine. You want to enjoy all that stuff. So, to have every car electric, that's a dumb move. Secondly, I mean, if you have an electric car and you want an electric car because you want to save money in gas, that's all well and good, but you have to have a combustion engine car along with that, because if you make a long road trip, like, for example, LA to San Francisco, you will have to charge the car twice maybe in between or something like that. So your 5-hour trip is now 8.5 to 9 hours. Now, that's ridiculous because you don't have that kind of time. So there's a bunch of things wrong with this plan. I mean, I never liked it I'm okay with an electric car. I owned a Tesla Model S for 8 years. I enjoyed it. I put a lot of miles on it. I had a good time with it. But when I went to see my kids in San Francisco, I never took it because the 1 or 2 times that I did take it, it was too long. The trip was way too long. So there's no fun in that.
I totally agree with you, Sunil. We've got the one car that's electric and the one car that can actually go on a road trip. And there's no way I would take this thing up to San Francisco. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. When I was sitting in that parking lot and it was like 80 degrees out, I was like, what happens when it's summer and it's 90 degrees out? Because when you're sitting in that car and it's charging, you can't have the air conditioning on. It was such a nightmare. But I really want to know, what was the plan here? Gavin Newsom signs a mandate forcing everyone to buy an electric car. There is no charging infrastructure. So many of these things don't work. There's all these different companies with all these different apps, and good luck trying to figure them all out. What was the plan to push everyone into electric cars? I don't think there was one. 800-222-KABC. Oh, let's go to Monica in Irvine. Monica, hello.
Hi, Randy. Thank you for taking my call. So my thoughts about the ban on gas-powered vehicles and forcing people to buy electric vehicles. I think he has to have known the kind of chaos and the economic impact that this would have brought to the state. He's really trying to just destroy California with this, and it extends beyond cars. Recently, in the last few years, with Berkeley, it's also affecting homeowners' rights to purchase or have natural gas powered appliances and air conditioning, washing machines and dishwashers. Recent city climate action plans and also City of Berkeley and recently the Southern California Air Quality Management Board, they've all tried or attempted to pass ordinances or bans on natural gas appliances, thereby forcing there have been conversations and even homeowners to convert their current homes from gas-powered from natural gas support to electric appliances, and that would force people to essentially gut their homes and with construction costs probably $30,000 or even $40,000. How can people afford these these things, and plus the inconvenience of that. It's these groups, and Newsom is technically slightly, and what's frightening is that he's more moderate than other members of his party. It blows my mind what he's trying to do to the state of California, and this will artificially increase the cost of electricity because you're just more dependent on it, and there's issues with PG&E and other boards, utility companies, just inflating the costs and the rates on the ratepayers.
Oh, yeah. The rates keep going up and up and up, whether it's SoCal Edison or PG&E. And if you put even more demand on the grid, we don't have the capacity for it. It's just there was no plan here. Thank you so much for the call, Monica. Appreciate it. That's all I want to know. What was Gavin Newsom's plan to force everyone to electric cars when there is no charging infrastructure whatsoever 10 years out from the mandate? Were the car manufacturers supposed to build the chargers? There's no uniformity whatsoever. It is a nightmare out there. 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Elaine in San Pedro. Elaine, hello.
Hi, Randy. I am a car chase junkie, and the funniest car chase I saw was the guys going down the freeway in a stolen electric vehicle, and the vehicle just ran out of juice.
I think I know that video. It's a good one. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. If you're on hold, stay on hold. Lightning round comes up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.
I get up there and I head down, and I can't get, and there's 6 buses. I can't get out of here. It's a 4-speed. And I say a prayer, and I saved the brakes for if I was going to have a crash. I had one application of brakes left. So my curiosity with an electric car and the heavy weight of a Tesla, do they have like an automatic transmission that goes into lower gears when you're going downhill?
That's an interesting question. I think there's definitely ways that it makes it stop, and it actually helps it charge the battery. But yeah, I've been on 154 several times. They can get scary. Thanks so much for the call. All right, I got about 30 seconds left for everyone. Let's go to Stephen in Corona. Stephen, go. Stephen? Marcelo in San Juan Capistrano. Marcelo, go.
Hey, Randy, I've got a great idea. We ask Gavin to hold a press conference, and then we have Alex Padilla ask Gavin, did he have an EV plan?
I think Gavin might throw him out, too. I love it. Thanks so much for the call, Marcelo. Really, there was no plan for how to make this sustainable. And if you don't have a plan for people to charge on the road, only a certain portion of the population is going to buy one of these things. They have a very specific use, but it's not going up and down the state of California, which means you're not going to get 100% of Californians to buy them. Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Hey, Randy, tomorrow is No King's Day. This is the end of the era of King Gavin the First, who just made a grab for absolute power. Turns out he was nothing but a big dictator.
Thank you so much for the call, Bill. Appreciate it. Well, I don't see this situation getting any better anytime soon. I will continue to use my car as a commuter vehicle, and that's it. But I don't see in the next 5 years, and let alone the next 10 years, this state being able to build the infrastructure to make this practical. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great weekend. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.